favorite commentator on TV.
That's what he was saying. That's what he was saying. That's what he said. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
He said, I love the way you put that thing down. You break it down in terms that everybody can understand.
Congratulations.
I didn't know you were going to be happy about it. I didn't know you were going to be happy about it. Okay, so yes, Tom Brady did post something yesterday, and I cannot wait for their response because he is not letting his critics off the hook. He posted, as we mentioned, a minute-long video on social media yesterday of everything from talk shows to newspaper clippings from people who doubted him this season. And get this, yes, it was led off with Shannon as the very first media voice on the video saying Tom has not been good this year. Brady captioned the video on Instagram, quote, I kept the receipts, never let them define you. And on Twitter, he wrote, I love talk radio. So Shannon, please, what is your response to Mr. Tom Brady?
Yeah, I thought Tom didn't listen to stuff like that. He ain't paying no attention to Shannon Sharp. That's what you told me.
I never said that.
But hey, Tom, I appreciate that, man. You or somebody you know listening to the show. I appreciate that. Keep that thing going for your boy, me and Skip. We like that, don't we, Skip? Okay, I appreciate that.
Love it.
Look, Skip, it's natural for athletes to use criticism or negative things that's said about them to fuel them. Skip, every athlete, it's hard for me to imagine that some athlete at some point in time didn't face some level of criticism. For me, it was like, oh, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be here at Glenville. You're going to be working in the fields. And if you do go to college, you ain't going to be the best because somebody's going to be better than you. And if you, Savannah State, oh, man, you ain't going to no NFL from no Savannah State. So, Skip, I've had criticism all along the way. But what Tom did, see, I like to do context. Because a lot of times when I say things about people, Skip, I go back and I listen to the show. And because I want to make sure, because I don't want people to think I'm ever malicious or I have any ill intent to when I say things. So I go back and I listen. Okay, did I provide the right context? Did I provide what that the viewer needed to hear for me, what I was saying? Do they get a great understanding? Now, when Tom played the clip that he played, mind you now, it was after the Rams game. I said what I said after the Rams game. A few games earlier, Skip, he had played a terrible Sunday night game. So at the time that I said what I said, Tom Brady at the time was 24th in completion percentage. He had thrown the 5th most interceptions in the league. He was 17th in passer rating. He had lost 38-3 to the Saints. And guess what he did, Skip, on that thing that was a Thursday night game? What you saying? What? So I thought what I was saying was very fair at the time of I'm saying it.
Yep.
So for me, I have no problems with Tom using what I said and some of the other guys' voices that he used in there. I have no problem. But he ain't post that after the Bears lost. Why didn't he say something after the Bears lost?
Was that the Super Bowl?
Whoa! No. So in other words, at the end of the day, you get to say all this. But at the time that I said it, I was correct. Correct? Thank you, Skip Bayless. So, look, I have no problem with that.
Oh, you're saying you were correct about Tom Brady?
No, I was Skip, at the time. The number says, yes, Tom Brady hadn't played well. Tom Brady started playing better. The defense started playing better, and ultimately they reached their ultimate destination, and they won. I have no problem with Tom using me for fuel. I have no problems with what I said. I stand by what I said at the time because I believe it was correct.
Okay.
But Tom, I really appreciate that, though, bro. You got your boy famous.
Speaking of appreciating, I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank you for your relentless criticism and skepticism when it comes to Tom Brady. Because it didn't just happen after the Rams game, or just not after that second Saints game, mid-season at 6-2.
Right.
Or after that fateful Bears game, the Thor game. He was predicting how many playoff games he was about to win.
That's what he predicted. You told
I'm going to win 4 playoff games.
You told me he was concussed.
Yep, he was concussed, but he was predicting. It was coming out of his psyche that he was going to go on the road and win 3 playoff games, and then he was going to go home and win a Super Bowl, which he did against... How did he do that? Breeze and Rodgers and Mahomes. Anyway, we know all that. The reason I want to thank you is that I've told you for the 5 years we've been together, there's just this one guy in sports I don't bet against. And I tried to warn you repeatedly. But I must admit, that I actually hugely and quietly appreciated every last word that came out of your mouth about Brady, because I know how he's built. He shatters the mold. He is the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing, and he's in sheep's clothing, and he's hard to figure because at a glance, off the field, he's that nerdy, corny dad next door. On social media, most of his posts, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yes.
But game time, big game time, fourth quarter time, when his button gets pushed and he starts thinking about what the great Shannon Sharpe has relentlessly said about him. And remember, you let off the media criticism because you're in the Hall of Fame. So he's going to value your criticism more than anybody else's criticism, because the rest are just a bunch of guys. But this is Shannon Sharpe. There was one little clip thrown in later about another contributor to this show who's also in the Hall of Fame, and that's our man Eric Dickerson, who has constantly called Tom Brady an old-ass man.
Yeah. But
Eric never shreds him and just says he shouldn't be playing. He's just saying most people at 43, they're just an old-ass man.
And for football terms, he is an extremely old man.
Okay, I got it. But there's one guy who needs you, especially. He needs you above all to doubt him, to condemn him, to write him off, because the more you do that, the more his button gets pushed by you. And trust me, he's thinking about you during games. Shannon Sharpe said, I'm washed up. Shannon Sharpe has said for 4 straight years, I should go home and stay home because I'm done. I'm in decline, and he knows this all too well. He's not going to acknowledge it publicly during the year. He's never going to fire back at you on some Tuesday after the Rams game.
He just put me this 1-minute video, so he finally acknowledged it.
He finally did. But that's because he's now in 7th heaven, right? He did it. He pulled that off.
Yes.
I thought it was, we could argue this all day, I thought it was the single greatest run to a Super Bowl ever. You could poke holes in that, but again, he went to Washington against the number 2 ranked defense, to New Orleans number 4 ranked defense, to Green Bay number 9 ranked defense, and obviously Breeze, Rodgers, Mahomes.
You know what, Skip? You can make that case that this was his toughest battle, but he went to battle with his best soldiers.
Okay, well, he did. There's no doubt. That was... Now, he didn't have Belichick. I don't think he needed Belichick, which is why we went back and forth, the general. But he didn't need that general because he was at least 75% of the New England dynasty to me. You argued it was Belichick was 75%, and I think Brady has proven once and for all that he was 75, if not 80.
Well, here's the thing, Skip. Now, Coach Belichick does get a chance to answer. Now, Coach Belichick's going to have to put together a winning team, get to a Super Bowl and win, and then we'll have another discussion.
Okay.
But if he's unable
he's got to find a quarterback.
Right. But if he's unable to do that, Skip, now you're going to have more people in your camp that says, yeah, you're right, Skip. He's 75% Coach Belichick. You might, but by the time in 2 years, there might be 90 to 10.
Okay. So, to my eyes, as I kept telling you, I could see no decline in arm ability, in velocity. You saw some decline, you thought, the last 2 years in New England, where you thought he was flinching under fire.
Yes.
Where he had lost a little bit of foot quickness in the pocket, where he had lost a little bit of release quickness. So it was everything was a little bit slower and a little less accurate.
I thought, Skip, what I saw is that I saw a guy that all of a sudden he started to blink in the face of the rush. And so when you start to lose your nerve in that sport, it's probably time to step aside.
Okay, and yet I thought he was flinching because, A, he's not going to take a quote-unquote kill shot. He's just not going to do it. When you're 41 and 42, you're just not going to do it because you're smarter than that. If, in fact, you want to play until 45, you better take none of those in the chops because you better just duck and cover.
You better not take any of those anywhere.
Not anywhere, as you well know better than anybody. Well, his receivers were last in the league in separation in New England. So his offensive line was average. So he has average protection. This year he had top drawer protection. And it's mostly because Tristan Wirfs just sort of, as a rookie, he turned into, I don't know if there's a better right tackle in football. And Donovan Smith was better than average. He stood up to the test. And once they got Ali Marpet back, all of a sudden he is getting protected. But by the time they got to the Super Bowl, he was also getting rid of the ball faster than he had in any game all year.
Right.
He figured it out. But he had receivers this year who could separate.
Right.
At the snap, they could separate. AB could get a step instantly.
Repeat what you just said. You said the Super Bowl, he got rid of the ball faster than at any point in time during the season.
Yep.
So what did that tell you? He was anticipating them coming with pressure.
Okay.
And
well,
so
sure
they's like,
right.
whatever you come with, Kansas City,
yep.
we ready for you.
Okay, he did, but he also trusted every receiver could get a step. If he needed Mike Evans to even get a jump ball step, he could get a step. Right. And he knew that even Scotty Miller, he's underrated. He can fly, and he can get by a Kevin King when you most need him to, and they least expect it to score a touchdown at the buzzer of halftime that basically won that game at Lambeau, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he had weapons that he never had over the last 3 years in New England.
He never had this many weapons at one particular time at any point in time.
Okay, so I also told you that his greatest